Well, hello, and this is our December book group, and of course we have a new star joining us, Louisa. Some of you will probably have met Louisa already. Louisa's relatively new to the practice, but feels like you've been here for ages and ages and ages. So the books we're going to be talking about today, I think, are very, very different books. I don't know your book at all. In fact, I don't even know the author, to be honest.
Maggie O'Farrell.
I've heard of her, but I don't know her at all. The book I'm going to talk about is from an author that, again, I've never heard of at all. A chap called Olivier Norric. He's actually a French-born author, and I think this is his first foray into historical novel. Tell me about your author.
So Maggie O'Farrell, she's written the book Hamnet,
Right.
which I was probably inspired to read because I actually saw they were bringing it out in film, and I thought I'd better read it first. It's also got two of my favourite stars in it, Jessie Buckley and goodness, I've forgotten his name. It can't be my favourite star.
You're asking your favourite, you don't know his name.
The camera goes off. He was a normal people. But anyway, so they're bringing it out in film, and I really wanted to read it before I saw it. And it's actually a gorgeous book.
What is the book about? It's a novel.
It's a novel, yeah, historical fiction, and it's about Shakespeare. And actually more about it's about Shakespeare and Shakespeare's son and Shakespeare's family life.
Oh, right.
And it's about his son Hamnet, and how sadly it's about his untimely death, and how it inspired him to then write the play Hamlet, and their family life and their relationships and getting to that phase. So
being a historical novel, are the facts real, or is there a lot of sort of poetic license?
There's definitely poetic license. It's definitely fiction.
Right,
but
so it definitely is fiction.
Yes, definitely. But it is based on the sort of side of Shakespeare, I guess, that we haven't really, not a lot of people have gone sort of deep diving into. We sort of learn a bit about Shakespeare's wife and things like that, but it's never really gone into the story behind it. And she's done a really beautiful kind of job of fleshing out that kind of that side of things that I guess a lot of people don't really know.
Fascinating, because let's just say, apart from having seen the film Shakespeare in Love, which I doubt is that accurate, I know nothing about the family life of Shakespeare at all, and I don't think many people do.
No, it's not sort of gone into. But
and what does the book cover? A relatively short historical period, or does it try and cover most of his life?
It sort of jumps between events, so it's set in the sort of the now, which is when we're kind of following Hamnet throughout a few events of a day really, or a few days, but it also jumps back into the past. We start off with a Latin teacher who is going on to visit a farm and sort of paying off his father's debts to this farmer. So he goes along and he's teaching Latin, and then he sees this mysterious woman kind of walking around the farm with a falcon on her arm, and he's sort of very intrigued, and he goes sort of searching for this woman, and it turns out to be, his wife.
I see.
His future wife, yeah. But it's their relationship, and she's sort of really developed as a character, and she's kind of probably the main reason why I like the book, because she's a really cool kind of character. She dances to the beat of her own drum.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
And apart from the main characters, does the book introduce other true historical figures that we would know or not?
No, not really. No. It really is very, very focused on families and family relationships and sibling relationships, but it's really written in such a really almost heartrending way in some moments. You'll need your hankies, you will.
Wow.
Definitely. It can bring even the most icy hearts to to melt. It's really lovely.
How fascinating.
Very much
and
fictional.
apart from obviously his son Hamlet himself, does Shakespeare himself feature in it quite a bit?
A little, yeah. It's really there are parts of him. It's not all about him though.
Right.
There are moments from each of them and how they feel and react to certain events that happen. But there's a real contrast. There's him in London doing his thing, writing his plays, and then there's his family back home, and that's all very sort of based more around the natural world of Stratford and nature, and that kind of contrast with sort of Shakespearean London and the grit and the grime and everything.
God, how already it appeals to me.
Yeah,
it really does.
Book.
And do you think that I always find this interesting that obviously not having seen the film or the film not having come out yet, do you imagine that an awful lot will have to be lost in the making of a film or not?
Oh, I don't know. I hope they do it justice.
Yes.
Because the writing is just magic.
Right.
It really is.
Yeah.
So I think as well, Chloe Zhao, I think, is the director
Right.
of the film, and I think it's set to be a real magic.
Oh, how fantastic.
Yeah.
I get to read that. It's not often I sit here and when we talk about books I think, yep, I'm going to read that. But I'm going to read that.
It is really, really, really nice. And it's easy. You could devour it in sort of 3 days. I think I did. Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Well, the book I'm talking about is a very, very different thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a book called The Winter Warriors. And it's, well, I would say documents, but it is set in... It starts really in 1939, and the scene is what is often known as the Winter War, when the Red Army invades Finland. This isn't a war I know much about at all. I really don't. It doesn't seem to be one that sort of features an awful lot in the history books, and it's centred around a young lad who is brought up in the Karelia region of Finland, and he's a farmer. Well, I say he's a farmer, he helps out on his father's farm, and his farmer is a very, very good man, a good father, and brings up his children, his 8 children up, in a very sort of orthodox way. They're taught all the skills that they would need, and one of his is being a marksman. And at a very early age, it's clear that he is a great shot, and he enters competitions in the local community, and pretty much always wins them. But he's a very, very modest chap. And then, of course, what happens is that one day in 1939, the conscription officer comes to their village, wanting people to obviously join the forces and fight against the Russians. And what's interesting is that there is never a sense of foreboding with regards to this massive foe, the Red Army, and this tiny little Finnish force. His name is Simo Hailaha.
Can you spell it?
No, I can't spell it at all. But the book is fascinating because obviously he and his friends from the village go off. None of them have really left the area ever.
Yeah.
And so it's all very, very new to them. And they don't go off with any sort of gung-ho sort of attitude or anything like that. It's very much they're there to do their patriotic duty. He's received formal sniper training, and he is, although it is a novel, a historical novel, the characters in the novel are all real, in fact.
So it's based on
so it's all
true character.
absolutely,
Perfect.
and not just him, but his friends. They're the real characters.
Okay.
And in essence, it's a book which follows this group of friends through all the trials and tribulations of their skirmishes and battles with the Red Army. And it's a very touching book because it never glorifies the conflict at all. It very much focuses on his relationship with his friends, and also other people within the sort of the local, not exactly militia. They have a sort of an absolute demon of a commanding officer who is the antithesis of most of them.
Oh, really?
Yes, he's a very sort of very, very gung-ho authoritarian individual called Jutalainen, I think his name is. But at the same time, they very much warm to him. He's a complete drunkard.
Oh, really? A big character.
But he looks after his men.
Okay.
Obviously, the book follows him as a sniper, and I think he ends up killings. I mean, it's something that isn't glorified at all in the book, but he does end up killing about 500 Soviet soldiers,
wow.
or Red Army soldiers, during I think the 100 days of the war. I think the heart of the book tends to be his relationship with his friends and his emotions when one by one that they fall, as it were. He has a very touching, not at all a sort of emotional, but a very touching relationship with one of the nurses in the local hospitals who look after the wounded, and it is a fascinating and very sobering book in equal measures. Literally a week or so before the end of the war, before the Finns capitulate, he's horribly injured and initially taken for dead, and his body is thrown on a pile of corpses. And this apparently is very true, that someone notices a foot twitching in this pile of corpses and pulls him out, and he is barely alive. Anyway, off he goes to hospital and has various surgeries, and is horribly disfigured, in fact, but alive. And what's interesting is that he wrote a memoir or memoirs of this, but they were only discovered in 2017.
Wow!
Which is fascinating.
This is the inspiration for the book?
And this is the inspiration for the book.
Incredible! I wonder where they found them.
Yes, I don't know. It doesn't talk about it in the book, and I don't know where they found them. But he, in his memoirs, he remains incredibly modest about everything. But it's a very personal tale. So although it is, if you like, a war story, it isn't. It's yes, it's a tale of strife.
But that's more the setting for the relationships and
so it's a book I think would appeal to a lot of people. As I say, it's gripping.
Where did you find out about it?
I really don't know. I think I
just
saw
picked
it.
Up in Waterstones.
I think I did. I think I was wandering
the
around
best ones.
thinking. I mean, I do love that sort of wandering around Waterstones, but I think the trouble is I often think, well, short of being stranded on a desert island for 6 months, when am I going to read all of these things? I'd love to, but
we don't get much time, do we?
No, we don't, do we? I mean, you find yourself, and I'm sure you're the same, sort of an evening or weekend, the journals one wants to read, or online things one wants to read, and sometimes it's quite nice to think, no, I'm not going to do any sort of professional stuff. I'm just going to pick up a book and just read it.
It takes just opening up the cover and going, shall I? And then next minute, half your Saturday's
spent. Absolutely. So yes, by Olivier Norrick, The Winter Warriors, a really good read.
That's great.
And I'm really fascinated by your book.
It's the first time I've seen the cover in colour, because I'm a Kindle girl.
Oh, I see.
It's beautiful. I kind of wish I had it hard copy to put in my bookcase.
I tend to do Kindle as well. Kindle,
it's a shame, though,
but every now and then, it's funny. I only ever tend to buy real books, if you like, going on holiday.
Yeah,
there's something about
quite
nice
like
whether you're on the beach, exactly. You don't mind you drop in the swimming pool.
Yeah, getting soaked.
So no, a really good book, and that looks fascinating.
There we are.
So thank you very much indeed, and I'm sure we'll be with you again. Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks.